All right, I am here in Boston, Massachusetts, and check out the view. In the background, I've got the TD Garden. I am kind of by a road. There's a highway going through, and there's a big highway going over a bridge. So I hope you can hear me. I'm going to keep the microphone close. Massachusetts, you are a super weird state when it comes to Medicare. So let's cover a few things here, and it's kind of all overlapping, but I'm going to start with the supplement plans first. First off, supplement plans here are community rated. There are 3 different ways for supplement plans to be rated. There's issue age, that's based on the age that you are when you first go on Medicare and take a supplement plan. There's attained age, that is based on the age you have attained once you're on the supplement plan. So you're getting an increase every year on your birthday because you've attained a new age. And then there's community rated, where it's not based on your age. It doesn't matter if you're 65 or 105, you're paying the same rate here. All of these will have annual increases to account for rising healthcare costs and inflation that insurance companies just do. So just know that regardless of the rating system, increases are going to happen, but here you're just having the one with a community rated state. You have different non-standard supplement plans here. So you don't have the traditional 10 letters of A, B, C, D, F, G, K, L, M, N. You don't have those here. You have 3 non-standard plans. You have your core plan, which is like a super stripped down plan A equivalent is what I would call it. You have plan 1 that is like a supplement plan F, and just like a supplement plan F, only those who are eligible for Medicare prior to 2020 can get this. And then plan 1A is kind of like a plan G or a plan N. And I'll explain what that means, because none of these plans cover excess charges. And the reason for that is because Massachusetts is a MOM state. That's MOM, Medicare overage measures. And what this means is that if you seek care here in Massachusetts, there is no opportunity for providers to charge overage or excess charges. So let me explain what that is. There are 3 types of providers out there. The first are those who participate with Medicare. This means they agree that Medicare's payment will be 100% of the cost that they need to run. There are those who do not participate with Medicare. This means that they don't agree that the Medicare reimbursement is full payment, and they can charge up to 15% more than what Medicare allows. And that 15% overage is referred to as an excess charge. And you would be responsible for that if you are on any plan besides plan G and plan F outside of Massachusetts and the weird states, or here in Massachusetts, you would be responsible for excess charges because none of your supplement plans cover them. But again, we're in a MOM state, and those are not allowed here. The third type of provider are those who've completely opted out of Medicare. They will not bill Medicare. If you want to get care from somebody who is completely opted out of Medicare, you are paying out of pocket. You're not getting it covered by Medicare and your supplement plan. But it's that middle group, those who do not participate with Medicare, that we're focused on here, because here in Massachusetts, they can't charge you that extra 15%. There are only 8 MOM states in the country, so Massachusetts, you are one of them. 2 important notes on this MOM rule. So the first one is that this applies to where you get care. So if you get a plan here in Massachusetts, but you go to Texas, which is not a MOM state, and you get care in Texas from a non-participating provider, you could see those excess charges and you would be responsible for them. However, if you live in Texas, because you're seeking care in Massachusetts, you won't experience those overage charges, those excess charges. So it's all about where you get the care. It's not where you got your plan. Now, because Massachusetts is community rated, you're a MOM state, and because you have non-standardized supplement plans, there's a lot going on here to build into your costs. Now, if somebody were to get a supplement plan G, a 65-year-old, the average across the country is $150. But here for the plan 1A, which is kind of like a plan G, it's not exactly the same, but it's kind of like it, the average is around $205 a month. So it's higher than what you would see on average across the country. So with the slightly higher than average costs, would you expect the supplement plan penetration rate to be lower here? And the average across the country for all supplement plans is 21%. Here in Massachusetts, it's 24%. So you're slightly above the national average in terms of the number of people who are choosing to get a supplement plan as opposed to something else like an Advantage plan, original Medicare only, federal benefits, or others. The other thing contributing to the higher than average costs is the fact that here in Massachusetts, there is no medical underwriting for you to go on supplement plans. It's year-round open enrollment. What this means is that you can make changes changes to your supplement plan at any time during the year, and you're not going to have to go through medical underwriting. So outside of Massachusetts, just to let you know how this works, if I was on a Plan G and my insurance company's rates were increasing faster than the other insurance companies around me, and I wanted to switch from one Plan G to a different insurance company's Plan G, I would have to go through medical underwriting in most states. That means that they would ask me medical questions, and if my health was poor, they could either charge me more or they could completely deny me getting on a supplement plan. If your health is good, that's not a problem, but it's for those whose health is poor. But here in Massachusetts, there is no underwriting, so I can switch from a Plan G to another Plan G. I can switch from a Plan G down to a Plan N. I can switch from a Plan N up to a Plan G. There's open enrollment here, guaranteed issue, which is a great thing, but there's a huge mistake that people make on this that I'm going to cover in the Advantage Plan section, so make sure you watch that. The big mistake in states like Massachusetts, where it's this guaranteed issue open enrollment, is people think, okay, I can get on an Advantage plan, and then as soon as something bad happens, I can just switch over to a supplement plan, no problem. And the logic is pretty okay, but the big issue here is that to switch back onto original Medicare and a supplement plan, you need a qualifying event. So I'm making this video on August 3rd, and I know it's going to be posted after this, but let's say that everything is going well on August 3rd, and then on August 4th, I get diagnosed with cancer. If I'm on an Advantage plan, and with this rule, this does not mean that on August 4th, I can switch over to a supplement plan, and now all of my cancer treatments are going to be covered. It needs to be during a qualifying period or a qualifying event to trigger me to go back onto original Medicare. Those qualifying events would be, number one, the annual enrollment period that runs from October to December, but any changes made during that period go into effect on January 1st. So using our example, I'm diagnosed on August 4th with cancer. Now I'm going to make a change in October that goes into effect on January. So from October 4th until January 1st, I am subject to my Advantage plan's conditions and coverage, which again, the Advantage plan coverage is going to be there for you, but it's not like you're making that switch to a supplement plan immediately. Another period where you can make these changes is the open enrollment period from January to March. Again, you're having to wait here. And then finally, if you qualify for a special election period, the most common is that you've moved outside of your Advantage plan service area. There are others like moving into a nursing home, or if you have your Advantage plan leaving the area. So there are a lot of different special election periods, but you need one of these in order to move back to original Medicare and a supplement plan. The other big mistake people make here is that if you're switching onto a supplement plan, you had a Part D plan with your Advantage plan, and again, to get onto a Part D plan, you have to do so during these periods that I've covered. So to get onto a Part D plan, if you're just switching willy-nilly, you forget that you have to get onto a standalone Part D plan. That means you're going without drug coverage potentially for a few months. And this is all something that an agent can and should help you with, and this is why we always advocate using an agent for these plans and these discussions. It will never cost you anything to use an agent. They're just going to be there for you to compare plans, make sure you're getting what you need, making sure these changes are occurring at the right times, and that you're navigating this whole complex process, again, at no cost to you. I'm not even saying that you need to use us. I'm just saying use a licensed agent who's familiar with your area as you're going through, whether that's a supplement plan or an Advantage plan. I do have partners who are licensed and familiar with the plans here in Massachusetts. If you do need help, you can reach out. My email is in the description of this video, or go to theretirementnerds.com. But please just use an agent, even if it's our competitors, to help you with this decision. Now, a big number that we look at from an Advantage plan perspective is the maximum out-of-pocket. So what is your maximum risk on an Advantage plan? Once you meet that number, your insurance company will cover 100% of approved costs. But nationally, the average is $5,000 for an Advantage plan maximum out-of-pocket. Here in Massachusetts, the average is $6,000, so it's slightly higher than the national average. This is an average, so you will find plans that are higher, you will find plans that are lower, but it is pushing a little bit higher than the national average. The Advantage plan penetration rate throughout the country is 50%. Here in Massachusetts, it's 34%, so significantly lower than what we're seeing. And a lot of the strategy is kind of what we talked about. People will go on an Advantage plan first, they'll save those monthly premiums, and then when they start to feel like their health just isn't getting better, or if they do have something wrong and the time period matches up, then they're switching from Advantage to supplement plan just when they need it, rather than paying the extra premiums when they don't quite need the supplement plan coverage yet. On Advantage plans, you also have trial rights to be aware of that are just kind of falling outside what we've already talked about. So the first trial right is if you go on Medicare at your 65th birthday, it has to be at your 65th birthday, and you get an Advantage plan, then you have a 12-month period to try that Advantage plan where you can switch back to original Medicare and a supplement plan with no medical underwriting. And this does not have to be during the annual enrollment period, the open enrollment period, or a special election period. So this is a little bit different. This is not me saying you have to go on Medicare and take an Advantage Advantage plan at 65. It's just if you do take Medicare at 65 and you take an Advantage plan, you have the first trial right. The second trial right occurs at any age, and it's when you first go on Medicare and you first take a supplement plan. So for example, let's say I first go on Medicare at 70 years old and I choose a supplement plan first. Then if at any time in the future I want to switch off of that supplement plan and onto an Advantage plan, then I can try that Advantage plan for 12 months and then switch back to original Medicare and my supplement plan within that 12-month period with no medical underwriting and without any issue of getting denied and without having to worry about those time periods. So those are the two trial rights that kind of fall outside the discussion that we've been having. All right, I like to leave a keyword at the end of these videos to make sure that you've made it this far, and if you leave it in the comments, then you and I can both know that you've watched the full video. I can take the comments a little bit more seriously, and it helps out a lot when you make comments on the video. There is so much here that I could pull from to use as a secret keyword. We've got the sports, we've got the history, we've got the food. There's just so much, but we heard a Boston accent for the first time today in real life in Boston. And so if you leave anything related to an accent, and that doesn't have to be a Boston accent, maybe it's the accent from where you're from and a word that you say different than others. But if you leave something like that in the comments, then that'll be our secret keyword. If you haven't subscribed to this channel already, please do so. It helps more than you know. My family and I are gonna go explore Boston a little bit more. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you for making it this far. I will see you in the next video.